and welcome to today's video of Life in the Seed. Thank you so much for joining me again in this video. Now, the title of this is that give me the 10 lepers voice, but the grateful heart of the Samaritan woman. It's actually a bit longer, but give me the voice of the 10 lepers, but the grateful heart of the Samaritan woman. Now, we all know that in Luke chapter 1, it gives us a clear understanding that Jesus is a Jew. Today's verse is in Luke chapter 17, verse 11 to 19. And I'm summarizing it. The Bible says that Jesus was traveling to Jerusalem. Of course, we all know Jerusalem. That is where the temple of God is. And so people go there to worship. At every point in time, they go there to worship. So we may not know whether he was going there to worship, but the Bible says that he was traveling to Jerusalem. And he had to pass through between Samaria and Galilee. These two towns, although they are closely together, they do not agree on something. Why? They don't agree to the fact that God must be worshipped this way or that way. You see, the Samaritans are saying that God must be worshipped on the mountains because that is where our forefathers worship God, and that is the accepted way of worshiping God. And then the Jew or the Galileans are also saying that no, God is not supposed to be worshipped on the mountains, but in the temple, which is in Jerusalem. In John chapter 4, something happened. John chapter 4, something happened. Jesus met this Samaritan woman at the well, and there was a conversation that went on back and forth. Give me water to drink and all that. So we can go back and read it very well. But the point I want to pick across is that when Jesus was done discussing all these things with the woman, revealing who she was and saving her from her own torment and sinful life, the Bible said that the woman went out celebrating and thanking God to the whole town to come and listen to the prophet who has revealed who she is. And even before that, this conversation, there was something in there that the Samaritan woman said, our forefathers worship God on the mountains. And Jesus said, no, it is not going to be on the mountain or in Jerusalem anymore. It's rather going to be those who worship God must do that in spirit and in truth. So Jesus never agreed to what the woman was saying or what the people of Galilee also says, that it has to be on the in the temple. But Jesus said the location is not key. What is important is that worshiping God is supposed to be in spirit and in truth, and that is what God is looking at. And when he went to this between Galilee and Samaria, the Bible said that there were 10 lepers calling him to come and heal them from the diseases that they were suffering from, and that was leprosy. So there were 10 lepers calling, and I can believe that some of them were from Galilee and some were from Samaria because of the location where Jesus was. But you know, one thing you couldn't find, or I didn't find in when I was studying this, is because although the two towns do not agree where God is expected to be worshipped, these 10 lepers from different towns or from these two towns had one issue, and they needed Jesus's help. They didn't care about whether we don't agree in the accepted way of worshiping God. All they knew was that we have sickness, and the sickness needed somebody to help us. So they recognized they had a problem. They knew there was somebody who could help them. And the Bible said they raised their voice and called out to Jesus. At the end of the day, Jesus came and healed them. Now, when Jesus healed them, one came to thank him and the rest did not come. Now, Jesus said that, why is it that this foreigner is the one that even came to thank me? Now, when you hear foreigner, you can always say that somebody that is not from your town, that is not from your city, that's a foreigner. So I can always say that the foreigner probably was a Samaritan, because the Samaritan woman went out thanking Jesus for what he has done in her life. So I can say that the one that came back with a thankful heart was a Samaritan man, or the leper was from Samaria. But the Galileans, who were supposed to be Jesus's people, didn't come back to say thank you, because Jesus called him a foreigner and then he blessed him. Now, we can look at it from this angle that sometimes you do good to some people you think are so close to you, and they should return the favor or thank you or show appreciation. It doesn't happen that way, and they go their way forgetting as if you never did anything for them. And then the ones that you least expected are the ones that come around and show their appreciation to you. We can look at that in another day or another level. But now let's look at the voice these people were having. Although they did not have a grateful heart, they had a voice that called on Jesus, a determined voice to call on Jesus until he comes to their aid. And that is exactly what they did. They called on his name until Jesus came and healed them. You and I do have a voice. Today, when we go to the church or we enter into the temple, we don't even want to clap our hands. We don't want to show appreciation for what God has done for us the whole week. We stand there so stiff. We walk out when we are done, and there's nothing showing that we are grateful for what God has done. But that's not what God is looking at. God is looking at people with a heart that thank him for what he has done for them. So in as much as these people did not have a thankful heart, they had a voice and they called Jesus. How many times do we call Jesus until he comes to our aid? We do it 1 day, 2 days, 1 month, and we are tired. We do it a week, a year, whatever, and we are tired. It has to be continuous until he comes to rescue us, knowing that he's the only one that can rescue us. We shouldn't give up. We should not throw in the towel, because they continued until Jesus did. And then the Samaritan woman also had a thankful heart. Let's look at these different stories very well. Now, sometimes when you are reading from the lepers side, you would think that they had an ungrateful heart. The 9 had an ungrateful heart, so you look at them as very bad people. But they had a voice. They had a voice that you and I sometimes don't have, that we don't even want to go to God and shout and scream and tell him that, God, until you rescue me from this, I will not let you rest. God is expecting us to do that. Come to him and he can be found. And so that is the voice they had, and they used it. And the Samaritan woman also had a heart, and she used it in thanking Jesus and going about the town saying that Jesus has done this for her. I want us to have these two attitudes as Christians. If you do have a voice, call on the name of the Lord and he will save you. And when he does it, come with a heart of thanksgiving to thank him for everything he has done. So don't neglect that you don't have a thankful heart, so you are not going to go. No, you do have a voice that need to call on him. Do that and let him come to your aid. And when he's done, have a heart that also give him a gratitude for what he has done. So he will continue to do that for you over and over again. I am so encouraged by this word and this teaching. And every time I read this over and over again, I need these two attributes. I need these two characteristics as a Christian. So I do not just have one and don't have the other. I need both. And I do believe you also need the two, so that as Christians, we can be able to go to God every single time. And when he's done for us, we are also going back to him with a thankful heart. Thank you so much for today. And I do believe I will see you again in the next video. God bless you.